the nation and bring about a speedy and thorough bring about a speedy and thorough Americanization of these former Moors, and that in accordance with the fullest right of religious independence guaranteed every citizen. Religious, I'm gonna write it down, because this is where the change comes. This is where the change comes. All right, in accordance with the fullest right of religious independence guaranteed every citizen. We recognize. Okay. Also, for the right of these people. Now, see, it's not saying persons. I ain't seen the word person in this document yet. To use the names. It also talks about titles. To use the titles and names. Titles and names. Okay? Ali, Bey, and El. Okay? Any other prefix and suffix and then custom to use custom custom to use or it which, because you got to look at this here, this Bey and ill stuff that we have, this Bey and ill stuff that's going on here. May, which is they. May. Hereafter. Here. Two. For. Here, two, for. No. Here, two, for been acquired. It's here, two, for. Here. After. Acquire. The right to use. Now, that's what that document said in 1933. Then there's another document in 1991 that goes further. It says, whereas these Americans who hail from a proud and ancient culture whose influence in philosophy, architecture, and the arts has helped define North Africa's culture for centuries, have become productive, involved, and contributing members of this American system, yet loyal to the doctrines of the religious faith to which they are adherents. If you're before the court and you're making a claim of being a Moor, and he's saying that you can't be doing that in my court, I don't recognize that, you're a U.S. citizen, and I don't want to hear this anymore in my court. In fact, bailiff, take him to the back. If you come back out here, I'm going to give him a second call. If you come back out here with this Moorish American stuff, I'm going to get him. I'm going to throw you into the jail. Okay? You know you're going to do that. How many times we've seen a brother or sister get jammed up like that? Okay. Y'all wrote that down? Can I take it off the board?
Let me just get that.
Now, because I said that for a reason. Because, again, we going back to, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created, endowed by their Creator. Okay? You got to go back to why it is that they broke off from England. Okay? It states that. And it's the same problem that we're having here. But it's already been rectified with remedial legislation. The issue is learning how to write and correct the problem ourselves. I'll give it to you. I'll show you. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. Look at our conditions. Now, we didn't go on, I don't have that with me right here. It's a different point, but I do have a book called The King and Congress and the Transfer of Legitimate Power to the United States. And it was their cries that they cried to the king, who would not listen to them. It's no different than the situations when we, the Moors, have in these courts, and we make our claim about who we are, and they don't want to hear what you got to say. Or in most of the situations that we may find ourselves in, that coming to take your baby in child support system, you're making a claim, child custody system, you're making a claim that you're more. It's no different than we do all of y'all the same way. It doesn't matter. You can make any claim you want. Well, that doesn't matter. What do you mean you're a Moor? Moor what? They don't want to hear that kind of thing. You know what I mean? They don't do that. They're not trying to hear that kind of stuff. Why? Because we haven't learned how to express ourselves. See? Now, if we understood that this religious preference and claim that we have here, along with our national claim, the argument that we brought before the court, and that the court tried to shut us down, the court crossed the boundary line when they did that. And it's not that he violated your due process right, but he made a determination outside what has already been established by the temple, divine constitution and bylaws. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality and know that they are not Negroes, black, and colored. Okay? So, that's already been established, because the Moorish Science Temple, although the word church is used, there's no problem with that. Church, temple, mosque, synagogue, they're all in the same category. Okay? They're all still that type of entity. But when that was established, that means that when he denied recognizing your title and the right that you were claiming, he interfered with that charter. He interfered with that charter. And interfering with that, he crossed over into an area that makes it unconstitutional for him to do so under the First Amendment. Because in doing that, he's denying you the freedom of religion. It says endowed by their Creator. It says we hold these truths to be self-evident. No, it says we recognize also in this document. Read that. We recognize also the religious independence guaranteed these people. That's Islam. So if you are now, you recognize by the same religious independence guaranteed you, but it's also something else that goes with that. You see, it's not just religious independence guaranteed, but it's a culture that has been in existence for centuries. Okay? And it talked about in order, it says that us, with regards to our religious backgrounds, it talks about being yet loyal to the doctrines of their religious faith. So it's not just that we have religious independence, or they recognize our religious independence, and also the rights that go with that, our faith. So now we're talking about the birthrights of Islam. Moors, referred to as Negroes, can never become equal members nor citizens of the Union State Republic right order, unless they first denounce their Magna Carta Code and accept the moral principles of your law. So there's a lot of different areas here that we can look at this situation and show why we could not be a part of that, and then two, how the political question is presented to the court under the First Amendment of freedom of expression of the claim that you raise of national status before the court when Your Honor is telling you, look, we don't want to hear that here. It's already been settled, Your Honor, unless Your Honor is stating that he's going to remake legislation and make law. When the court has already, well, the legislative already created or recognized that right that we have as Moors in acquiring our title. For you to say that you don't recognize the right that I'm claiming here with the birthright that goes along with it, you don't have that authority to do that. But when he does that, you got to take it somewhere else now. But he gave you an opportunity to get out, because that falls upon the First Amendment, but it also falls upon the civil rights. But be careful with that stuff. It has a lot of implications with it. And there's a lot of other things that we should be reading in order to have a more balanced understanding about national status. Not so much civil rights, but more so treaty rights, and international law. When you look at the civil right venue and how it was created in 1871 and 1866 acts, it wasn't for Moors, it was for Negroes. Although today it's used across the board by everybody, because it's an act of Congress to enforce the 14th Amendment, which the European is also stuck in there. But it also deals with, these acts of Congress deals with your customs, deals with customs, deals with titles, deals with rights, deals with quite a few different areas of the law under an act of Congress, such as 1343 Subdivision 3 of Title 28. Okay? When they violated your rights under the color of state law, or they violated your rights because of some statute, or some other area. But when they're doing that, that's why we're here. Because under the color of state law, or up under the color of state law, they're using some statute which indiscriminately puts you within its venue by determining that you are the person subject to the statute, when in fact you're not. Because in order for the statute to apply to you, it must specifically identify who is subject to that law. Like any other law that's in existence. Whenever someone is subject to it, it tells who's subject to it. It describes the party, it describes their status and everything about them, you know. It's like meeting the eligibility of a requirement of something. So it tells your status from that. But we are not used to dealing in those type of books, like I had showed you earlier. The legislative book that deals with the creation of the statute that terms who is subject to what. But you always again got to go back to the 14th Amendment and House Joint Resolution 48, because in the creation of all of these, in the creation of its terms, it regulated the rights of the specific group and people in the United States. And in doing that, they set up all of these various different laws. So when Congress done this on the federal level, they did it again on the state level. Okay? But it's a lot of that goes with this here. And let's go in here. It's right here, I believe it is. We went over it before. It talks about it's a universal principle in the interpretation of a statute that expressio unius est exclusio autitus, that is to say, the specific mention of one person, or thing implies the exclusion of the other person or thing, as otherwise expressed where a law expressly describes a particular act, a particular thing, or a particular person, it didn't say particular, but person. It's still a particular person because you must specifically identify him. You just can't say any person, okay, I just got robbed. Somebody came to you and said, I was robbed. So who robbed you? A person. All right, just go grab any person and get him. No, you got to describe what you're looking for when you go get him. So, you know what I'm saying? You have to be able to identify this guy. Most of the time, you say, well, who was it? Even though it's the wrong description, I was a black guy. It was a Puerto Rican guy. Or I saw an African guy, and it was this black guy, and it was the black guy who robbed the African guy. You see the problem with that one? But words do this stuff to us, man. But this is the spell we under, son. This is it. This is, you know what I mean? We got to get out of this here. But let me finish off. As otherwise expressed, where a law expressly describes a particular act, thing, or person to which it shall apply, an irrefutable inference must be drawn that what is omitted or not included was intended to be omitted and excluded. So that shows you this resolution here in making a First Amendment argument behind who you're stating that you are. This automatically puts the statute in question as being repugnant. It's not repugnant in discriminatorily being used against a party who is not within the scope and delineation of the term and how it should be applied. You see what I'm saying? Because he's showing the continuity of history, okay, corroborating facts and claims. And therefore, that religious statement that he made can find itself as a political question. Because of historically speaking, you can go back into antiquity. See, your religion brings you back into that political area because all those other rights is based upon it. Life, liberty, and property. Without you having that religious freedom, you don't got life, liberty, and property, not in this country. That comes first. Look at the Protestant. Any one of them. Any one of them out there. Any one of them that's European and that's Christian. They all came here with those rights. Everything else was subject to them. If wherever they was and you wasn't about it, they're going to try and make you subject to it. Say, we're going to civilize you. Civilize who? You knew better than that, but that's what they wrote in history for us because they didn't want us to know the facts, which now we do know the facts and the truth behind most of that stuff now. See what I'm saying? But now, and also, well, even in that, if you go back into Virginia, you would find that although they was enslaving people, a Moor had slaves in Virginia in 1619. That's when Thomas Jefferson was a lawyer. Around that time. 1705, excuse me, I'm sorry. 1705, Thomas Jefferson was a lawyer. And in 1692, you had a lot of statutes of Virginia that talks about Moors being in amity with His Highness. That Moors, when Moors, no Moor, no Jew, and no mulatto had a right to own white slaves at that time. So there's a lot of things here that's in history that they're not given to us. But I'm going to stick to this point here, whereas in this argument here, it becomes a First Amendment argument, but steps off into a deeper political arena, becoming political because of the history of the Moors, not just in America, but throughout antiquity 200 years ago. Now, what would probably make it become political? Let's see if we can find something here. Political. Watch this. This is why it can become political. Let me write this down, though. Let me take this off so we all have a clear mind here. Next time I talk with you guys and all of that, this is going to be nice. I'm looking forward to this being real nice for us. Okay, remember. Okay? I want to know what some people say about this anyway. This is a First Amendment argument. It's a First Amendment argument with political with a political question. Aha! With a political question. Political question. Not that it's in mine. The political question is in here. I'm going to leave it like this here, with just a political question. The reason why I put it as just a political question, because it really deals with here. Okay? And we can continue on with that. I don't want to, it ain't about giving out, it's not about answers for everything, and don't have the answers for everything neither. But we got to be able to do some kind of dialoguing too. You know what I'm saying? So this is 28, United States Code 1343, subdivision 3. Now, mind you, it deals with civil rights, but it's a political question under the federal jurisdiction. Okay? Let's see what these have to read it. It's a political, this is how you get into the federal court. This is a political question. Subdivision 3 deals with custom, statute, or right. I don't have it with me down here. Alright? But this First Amendment argument takes you in here. This takes you back to this political side because of the history behind being a Moor. Let me finish off with the Moor, being a Moor. Mr. Harris, this is a centennial that took place. 1776, we know the Declaration of Independence, right? 1776, a 200-year centennial. 1785, the Moors forced the the Europeans, to make a treaty. Actually, it lasts from 1780 to like a little bit past 1785. The emperor told them that you're taking too long to sign this treaty. However, although I seize your ship, the Betsy, I'm not going to make slaves of your men. I'm going to still let you do what you do, but you got to sign this treaty. Okay? They signed the treaty. It was granted. 1785. They also wrote to the Emperor of Morocco, stating how from his kind friendship and what he sent over here to help them. The Moors came over here to help them fight. But we already had all this mapped out. All of this land has been mapped out way before the European came. And if you get a Noah's Webster's dictionary, you'll find that out simply. Look up the word American. Now, Noah's Webster's dictionary from 1828 talked about how the Europeans found the copper-colored races here, Aboriginal indigenous people. Okay, says the European, but there's other census she had in 1973. What dictionary was that? It wasn't Oxford. What dictionary was she had? Sister.
Random House?
Yeah, she had a Random House. And her dictionary said the Pilgrims. It says when the Pilgrims found these copper races here. I said, whoa. Before it said the European, it said the true Americans are the copper-colored races. Okay, and now, although used by the Europeans, but her dictionary, which is even way later, 1973, talks about the Pilgrims found us here. You know about the Pilgrim history and Thanksgiving and all that crap? So that's deep. That's in her dictionary, 1973. She used her dictionary said the word Pilgrims. That's going back to the 1600s, 1500s. It says a lot. But we're going to finish off with this here. This document is from 1985, Tuesday, June 11th. It's a summary of the remarks. It says, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Committee of Foreign Relations, my colleagues and I arriving straight from the Moroccan Parliament bring you the fraternal greetings of Morocco, and I hope that these direct contacts between our two countries will contribute to widening the understanding between our two countries and to strengthen the friendship which binds Morocco and the United States of America. These ties, woven from the heart and mind during the last 200 years, remains unchangeable. Now, here's the real important part now. This was garbage comes into play. This is why it becomes a political question also. Okay? Very serious about this thing. But again, the object of writing is the key to this whole key. If we can't write, then we can't express ourselves and they can't see the position that we're really taking. See what I'm saying? You have all these different conclusions of law, that ain't it. On both sides, one cannot forget that Morocco was among the first to recognize the new states of America. At that time, weak and isolated. Weak and isolated, as shown in the correspondence exchange between George Washington and Sultan Muhammad III. Now what do you mean by that? That's going back to that document I just told you about. Why they was weak and isolated. We sent Moors over here to help him fight in the American Revolution. And to get free from that, gave him money as well as material to fight and manpower, and then we stayed here with them. Although we already had this mapped out in the first place. There's other history, but we're not going to go there because I want to stay on track as much as I can. So this is just showing you the historical implication behind the claim that you're making from a First Amendment right, which turns into a political question for the court as to whether the party is attached a statute to you. See what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
Did you want 28 U.S.C. 1343?
Yes, sir. Oh, okay, I got it now. I'm going to read it to you. 28-13-43, I'm going to go to 3. To redress the deprivation on the color of any state law, statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any right, privilege, or immunity secured by the Constitution of the United States or by the act of Congress providing for equal rights. Listen to these words again. This is where the problem, I guess. That's why I don't like this stuff here. By the act of Congress providing for the equal rights of citizens or of all persons within the jurisdictions of the United States. It sounds like, you know what I mean? You always see that garbage in there. You saw it though, right? Did you catch it? You saw the 14th Amendment in there. That's the 14th Amendment in the federal question. But you can get stuck in this stuff here if you don't have any historical facts that take you off of that forum or out of that forum into another forum or off of that platform into another platform. You don't want to be under the 14th Amendment platform making an argument stating that I'm a Moor. You need to know that you're on the right platform and how to get off of it too. And that's why the object of this whole thing, in the end, we're talking facts, we're putting points out there and we're trying to clear things up. But the object is about writing. If we can't write, we ain't going nowhere. We can't leave a legacy. Egypt left a legacy by drawing pictures on the wall. Huh? She was writing. She wrote her way. And then it has an interpretation and meaning. We need to learn to do the same thing. Right now we're doing a lot of copying and pasting, but that's going to be stopping sooner or later. We say, oh. That's not the hieroglyphic. That's not the thing we're supposed to be leaving behind as something that's great. Hey, copy and paste that, brother. Put that together for you. There you go. All right. So, what time you brothers got? Okay. I want to get to that point there before we end off, because we just touching points right now still, okay? But now, remember what I said. In order for this First Amendment argument to become a political question, you also corroborate your claims and your facts with history, okay? Then you also have other points that you corroborate your claim and your facts with history, okay? And that would be with like this. You have this document. You have the treaty, this document. In 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. We're going to close it out some. I left them all upstairs. 237. 777. think I left the what you call them upstairs. 222141. That's what we copied it. I wrote it down. I appreciate it. And then we have other information in order to corroborate that claim of who we claiming that we are. We have the Zodiac Constitution, you know. But our objective at the present time, well, is this too. We have a legal guide. We have a Zodiac Constitution. These are other facts that corroborate our claim, supporting further that political question here. Okay. I talked to you like in Article 3. We talked about taxes and military exemption for Moorish Americans. Moors referred to as Negroes. Africans and African American blacks definitely can never become members of and citizens of the Union Society of the 48 States. You know what? You ever notice something too? This is called the Union Society of the 48 States, but yet, and even when Mr. Bingham did what he did, what is it called? House Joint Resolution what? 48. He didn't say 50. See, everybody's sticking within that. That 48 Union States coming from the 13 colonies. See, so you got to look at numbers mean a lot because numbers is mathematics. It plays a big meaning behind the whole system. Okay, it says, therefore, they cannot be forced or drafted into USA Army, military, or service to fight for the Magna Carta Code of white supremacy against themselves. Now, this is the important part here. It says the lawmakers of the 48 Union States cannot force the Moors, the Bays and Ills, to pay taxes because taxation without representation is a supreme violation of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution birthrights of Islam. It didn't say your religion. It says Constitution birthrights of Islam. When the Union lawmakers denounce their immoral Magna Carta Code and resort to the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, then the Moors are compelled to pay taxes because everyone in the nation will be equally represented by it. There is no room in the science of, in parentheses, masonry, hyphenated, the zodiac, for mystic, God, religious worship, race, color, ignorance, war, crime, slavery, thank you, sir, and human injustices. Now, this document goes with this document. You have many that will go with this by itself, but this here is what make you a claimant. The same as you have your nationality card in your pocket, right? And you got a divine constitution from the temple. So you have a nationality card, copyrights, and the Constitution also. These are corroborating evidence and facts of the notoriety and history of the Moorish nation, okay, in America. So, but in here, it talks about, this is to certify that the statements set forth in the attached have been made a part of the records of the Copyright Office with claim of copyright registration. Now, it says to certify that the statements set forth, the statements that are set forth is everything in here. And it's made a part, it says in here, it's been made, it's attached and is made a part of the record of the Copyright Office. So, if you're a claimant and you're making a claim to this information here, then it's showing that that you're totally opposite of what it is that they're trying to claim that you are. And as a claimant, you're not coming in now. You may be dealing with what you're dealing with, but you're coming in now as a claimant. Okay, let's say you're a defendant. I can raise this off the board. Okay. Because the person that they're talking about, you're saying, let's go over what we read. Let's even go over that. It says that, and that Vandenberg versus Brown. The purpose of the 14th Amendment was to confer a citizenship upon a group of people who could not be brought within the operation of naturalization laws. Therefore, and it says no white person. Okay? Now, Article 3. Moors referred to as Negroes can never become equal members nor citizens of the Union State Republic of right order and documented white supremacy. Where's your proof? See Ellen versus Balkenbrock. Further proof? Okay, let's go to State versus Newsom. 1 second. State versus Newsom. where he talks about the Negro may be a citizen, but in the fullest sense of the word, he is not. But when the legislators were legislated, they had in mind this mixed population of quote unquote free colored people who was amongst our people, and that when they legislated to keep them in line regarding the founding fathers' principles in order for them to be in existence, because they had nothing to do with it. Go ahead now.
The case you just stated, Adams versus, what was it?
Adams.
You said Adams versus something?
It's Ellen.
Ellen. Oh, Ellen.
It's Van Valkenburg versus Brown, really. It's Van Valkenburg versus Brown. It's 43 Cal 43. That's if you're going to get the case, 43 Cal 43. Okay, that one tells you about the purpose of the 14th Amendment. The other one tells you that even though they was made citizens, they wasn't made citizens in the fullest sense of the word. Now, if that be the case, then how could our people say that they're citizens by virtue of the 14th Amendment? White woman can't be. So how are we then? We can't be, because it says all those persons. Okay? So this is the reason why we have our own history to separate between them and us. Now remember, if we have a disagreement with something, we're the claimant. But if you go in there, if you're going to argue a position that the grounds where they lack this jurisdiction is based upon the First Amendment of expression, freedom of expression. Freedom of expression carries with it your religion. So when you're making that freedom of expression, you're talking about who you are and the rights that you're claiming and how they're supposed to acknowledge it. That's how it was back in the day. Hawk, who goes there? You must identify it. So Free Moorish National or more of Moroccan Empire. All right, let the man free. You have the road. It's like what's that movie? They in Kingdom of Heaven. When Godfrey the Bullion, he was coming across, they was leaving England, he was going over to Jerusalem. He had his so-called son that he claimed was his. When he went there, he says, okay, but his father, he didn't want to go with him, but he wound up killing a priest, and then he wound up traveling with him. So then, when he stopped, he says, you have such and such bailiff, and we want him. He says, my lord. He knows him as a Knights Templar. He says, you have the road, my lord. Because he automatically recognized who he was. So we come for him. I am Godfrey the Bullion. Oh, my lord. I know who you are. You ain't need no paper. No, you see some ID. You ain't need shit, nothing. See what I'm saying? But now, today, we got to go through all this here stuff. It's just the recognition of, once a person said who he was, oh, I know your authority. The guy you got with you, he's the blacksmith. He killed the whatchamacallit. Okay, well, this is who I am. I ain't giving up anything. Oh, okay. He knew he had to fall back. But then he says, well, there's going to be a day we're going to see, you're going to know who's who, because we're going to fight for this man's body. But the thing was, again, you knew who you was. And that's why today we have to start regathering all of this information so we can establish who and what we are. Know who we are. Because being a Moor has nothing to do with you having affairs on your head and all the different regalia and everything. And at the end of the day, if you can't defend your birthrights butt naked with a sheet on, you ain't got it, son. You ain't got it. Man, I need my fez. What is it going to do? Some magical stuff for you? Huh? Yo, give me that, give me that. None of that's going to help you right now. What's going to help you is your mind and the pig. You're inside, son. You got 45 days or maybe longer to think about this here. How you going to come home? So that means you need to know who you are. It's very important that we know this here. Not all of our sisters go through this here, but most of our brothers do go through this here. But at the rate in which we're traveling right now, for the future, more sisters will be involved on that area. I see it coming. Why? Because sisters are more assertive. And being more assertive, they want to participate in certain things with it. At one time, they weren't participating in it because it gives them what they need, economic and social control. So I have no problem in them participating in the areas that they want to participate in. So, this is why we need to know all that we need to know about the term person. There's other things that I went over at the last time, okay? But it's this type of material here that brings us into another area regarding our defense against something. You got not only, we're dealing right here with the First Amendment, but you're also talking about treaty rights though too. Okay? Give you an example so you don't really get too frustrated about the 14th Amendment, okay? Let me just find something for you so I can read it to you. So you don't think that, oh, it's just this, the service of Seattle. In fact, I'll share this case too. This is case, the site number is, this is United States Supreme Court case, 265 U.S. 332. I'll write it down if you want. 265 U.S. 332. Okay? A-S-A-K-U-R-A versus Seattle. Alright? Now, I'm going to read this case to you. This is a deep case here. It's simple too. Real simple. It's not long. 10 pages. It says, procedural posture. The plaintiff in error, a Japanese citizen operating a pawnbroker business in the United States, brought review of a judgment from the Supreme Court of the state of Washington, which held that the defendant in error city's ordinance that prohibited aliens from operating pawnbroker business did not violate the treaty between the United States and the Empire of Japan, April the 5th, 1911. Overview. The treaty between the United States and the Empire of Japan, April the 5th, 1911, 37 Stat 1504, stated that citizens of each country enjoyed the right to carry on a trade or business within the other country. Plaintiff in error was a Japanese subject who lived in the United States and operated a pawnbroking business. You heard what he said? He said he lived in the United States. Now, undoubtedly, we reckon he said he was an alien. However, he lived here. Okay? If you go over in your mind, in Resolution 75, he ain't saying nothing different, man. Nothing is really different. So they came here and found homes for themselves. Traveled from the desert plains of Morocco. Okay? And now found homes and became productive and it says, and became citizens, have become citizens. It didn't say they become citizens by naturalization either. It said by these former Moors through the Americanization, not through a naturalization process. So you became a citizen. So that's what I'm saying. These are little points, these are little things. And they got to go deep in order for you to be able to be clear about what is it actually saying here. In order for me to develop an argument behind the premises that they're making the claim from. The plaintiff in error was a Japanese subject who lived in the United States and operated a pawnbroker business. Plaintiff in error challenged the city ordinance that prohibited aliens from engaging in pawnbroker businesses, arguing that the ordinance violated the treaty. After the Supreme Court of Washington upheld the city's ordinance, plaintiff in error appealed to the United States Supreme Court. The court reviewed the ordinance and concluded that it did not violate the treaty. First, the court found that the treaty was within the treaty-making The court reviewed the ordinance and concluded that it did violate the treaty. First, the court found that the treaty was within the treaty-making powers of the United States and served to strengthen friendly relationships. Next, the court stated that the ordinance discriminated against aliens. Finally, the court held that in plaintiff's error, business fell within the definition of the statute. Finding that the ordinance was not valid, the court reversed the judgment. This is an easy case to use. This is the easiest case that I found that can be, no, I got other ones too. But these are treaty arguments. And this is clear. Now let's see, where's our treaty at? Okay, let's go here. They said they had that right. Now we got the Moroccan Treaty of 1836. Let's go to, what do you got, 24? Either party should be a war. Okay. Okay, right here, Article 6. If any more shall bring a citizen of the United States or their effects to his majesty, the citizen shall immediately be set at liberty, and his effects restored. And in like manner, if any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any citizen of America or their effects, and bring them into any of the ports of his majesty, they shall be immediately released, and they shall, as they will then be considered as under his majesty's protection. The commerce of the United States, the commerce with the United States, shall be on the same footing as is the commerce with Spain, or as that with the most favored nation for the time being, and their citizens shall be respected and esteemed, and have full liberty to pass and repass our country and seaports whenever they please without interruption. You don't need a license to drive right here. Not right there. They were, okay, and their citizenship shall be respected and esteemed, and have full liberty to pass and repass our country and seaports whenever they please without interruption. Why do you need a license? It says sea, it says country, our country, and sea, land and sea. Land and sea. I don't want to go in the other area. I was about to go there. We give it an end, and we want to be out there a little much longer talking about that. Okay, but we can see that's those right there. Then you have merchants on both countries shall enjoy only no. I got number 3. Merchants shall not be compelled to buy and sell any goods, but of such as they shall think proper, and buy and sell all sorts of merchandise, but such as are prohibited by other Christian nations. Oh, here's another one that dealing with as far as licenses and movement. 19. No vessel shall be detained in port on any pretense whatever, nor be obliged to take on board any. That's like, can I go in and search your car? That kind of stuff there. Shall be on board on any article without the consent of the commander, who shall be at full liberty to agree for the freight of any goods he takes on board. However, that's a ship case. That's a case that's dealing with the sea, not the land. So again, there's other subjects we would have to talk about if we're going to really clear our minds up with this one here. Well, you all know about 20 and 21. If any citizen of the United States or any person under their protection shall have any dispute with each other, the council shall decide between the parties, and whenever the council shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted him. In 21, if a citizen of the United States should kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place. That's when the law of the country is supposed to take place. If you kill or wound a Moor, or Moor kill or wound a United States citizen, that's when the law. Otherwise, it shows you all those areas. In movement, locomotion, you're supposed to be freedom to pass and repass our country and our port. So what's this here? Because you're on the other side of the person. We're not on this side here. And trying to use this treaty without clearing up all of that googly gosh here, you're not going to get here. See? Because you got to put him on notice how you created this and how it doesn't apply to me. When you create this, the scope and delineation pertain to this for this specific purpose and only for that purpose. And you can show them every other law too, where how those things are in conjunction with that and can only go but so high and no higher. Because that's how that law is. If any differences shall arise by either party by infringing upon any of the articles of this treaty, and peace and harmony shall remain, notwithstanding in the full force, until a friendly application shall be made for an arrangement, and until the application shall be rejected, no appeal shall be made to arms. It's more in here, but these are different points. Now, And using this, okay, you've never seen a Moroccan case yet, I know that much. I mean, there is one. I mean, Morocco versus France. Excuse me. It's an argument, it's a case about Morocco, but that's because the United States is in Morocco, and France is there, and they had some beef over being taxed. And the United States tried to use this article. They tried to use Articles 14. The More Favored Nation Clause. Commerce, because they were doing trading inside of Morocco. But because France had become a protectorate, they signed a new agreement with them under the Sharifian Empire. And in that agreement, they was dealing with duties of imports and exports, and they had to pay for certain things. They said we shouldn't have to pay because of the Moroccan Treaty of 1836, Articles 14. It says no, you waive those rights when you sign this other treaty under the Sharifian one. I think that was in 1912.
1914.
1914. So they waived that right, although they tried to use this treaty. 1952. So we have a lot of different issues and points that we need to address, but we need to understand the terms and how they're being applied to us, and then dispel the myth. One, we need to get the Young Learner Dictionary. Again, I recommend Sister Yafa Bay. I recommend my son, my family, everybody. Get Yafa Bay. She's good. Because it's simple stuff, man. It's the regular school teacher stuff. How to use a dictionary. See what I'm saying? So you got that, and then we have what we have here. And again, these are just facts and these are just points, so that you can see the difference between our history and their history. You have our history. It talks about how we hail from a proud and handsome race, and that we influenced North Africa, Spain, and carried the philosophy and the arts and the sciences, okay, into North Africa, okay. All of the things that we've done, okay, and then you have the other one. Then you have what Prophet Noble Drew Ali established. Then you have the Moorish literature. Then you have the Moorish Quran. These are all things that corroborate. Let's show you what let's look up the word corroboration. Let's see what that means. That's the purpose of having all of these documents and stuff. I need to write that down too, I believe. I might have one word wrong. Let's see what that is there. It might be 2 R's. Corroboration. I think so too. 2 R's right here, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. C-O-S. R is 18, S is 19. 18. S. C-O-R. C-O-R-R. C-O-R-P. C-O-R. Oh, corroborate. Corroborate. Okay, to strengthen. To add weight or credibility to a thing by additional and confirming facts of evidence. Corroborate. The testimony of a witness is said to be corroborated when it is shown to correspond with the representation of some other witnesses, or to comport with some facts otherwise known and established. Corroborating evidence. Evidence supplementary to that already given, intended to strengthen and confirm it. Additional evidence of the different characters of the same point. In some jurisdictions, corroborating evidence is an accomplice to the crime. In some jurisdictions, corroborating evidence is an accomplice to the crime is giving much weight. So we see what corroboration is. All of this stuff here, this is case law. This is cool. Okay? But all of this is corroborating evidence. This, and this, the legal guide. House Joint Resolution 75. The Sundry Free Moors Act of 1789-1790. The House remarks of 1985, when they stated for the 200 years had recognition of this treaty. 1991 resolution, and this one here is the organic, deals with the organic laws of the Declaration of Independence. All these things are corroborated. Copyrights definitely corroborated. All right. And you got book 1 and book 2, okay, with this copyrights. Everybody got copyrights. Everybody got their own copyright. Everything got its copyright. So everything that's even in there, you're making a claim to that the facts that's in the book. Now, the question is, a lot of people want to use the book, but you know they talk about the book, book 1 and book 2, but how do you put that book in your writing? How do you establish that case and show that history and say, see, you know what I'm saying? Because all this is corroborated. That's the purpose of writing. You know what I'm saying? Get a chance, buy a writing book. How to write it right. Express your views. You know what I'm saying? Not just, you know, writing love letters and things like that. Maybe once in a while, you may want to do something like may want to make a claim against yourself. Well, somebody says that, well, I'm charging you with this, that, and the third. And you say, well, but you're doing it all to your own self in your own writing. I mean, free time, really idle time, you have time to do stuff like that. What I mean by that is when you're in prison. You got idle time, you're sitting down, and you're making a claim because you're developing in your mind by strengthening yourself and all your material in the room how to be your own enemy, have an opposing enemy inside the same room with you. So you're stating that, oh, he's charged with that, well, I'm not subject to that. Well, establish your proof why you're not subject to it. So when you're sitting in the room and you're writing all your facts and you're corroborating history and everything like that, it's making you sharper. So you have the time to do that. But having all this type of stuff right here, it also makes you sharper and gives you the time, if you can spend some time to do that. But you need to read all those statute books and all that. Because it's the process, how to take all of this, goes in that. And there's procedures and application. I know you keep hearing it. Oh, they don't have any jurisdictions over us and this, that, and the third. Oh, no, why are you going to write that? How you going to write that? You just going to write it, just, what? How you going to write? Just an affidavit? You would just keep writing affidavits? I'm not saying an affidavit can't do well by itself, because an affidavit can do pretty well by itself. You get screwed up in the trial court. Okay, you put in, let's say, 7 or 8 affidavits, and they just refuse to ignore them and says, excuse me, sir, you need to go get a lawyer if you don't know what you're doing, because he said, well, I put in an affidavit, I'm waiting for him to rebut my affidavit. Well, sir, an affidavit doesn't move the court. What do you mean it doesn't move the court? You need a motion to move the court. Yeah, but an affidavit is the truth, and it generates a claim that's being made before the court. And if he doesn't answer that claim, he's liable to be default of that claim. Well, sir, I just told you once, and then, you know, I can't come, I'm not communicating with you, sir, right now, because I can't give you legal advice. I never asked you for legal advice. I just told you to tell him to answer the claim, to rebut my claim, show replications, which he hasn't done, and we passed 30 days. Well, y'all know, sir, what we're going to do is we're going to adjourn this here, and I'm going to appoint you I don't need a lawyer. Let's say you got about 7 or 8 of them in, and you got some nice, tight stuff in there. They said, well, next week is trial. Y'all know we're not going to trial. Well, sir, next week is trial. If you're not ready, sir, you can sit it out if you want to, but we're going to hold this trial. What you going to do? You got to stop that judge. What you going to do? Timing is really crucial. Crucial. You got to go upstairs. You got to do a prohibition. You got to do an order to show cause. Or you got to do a prohibition, order to show cause. This is for the prohibition, order to show cause, a mandamus, or certiorari. But you got to stop that trial court from moving again on you. And then your facts better be laced properly. Not so much that you are more and you exempt and this, that, and the third, because, I mean, a crime is a crime universally. It tells us that in our own teachings. Okay? Should have more, and it says you beware of imposters. You got a lot of people think that they can use this stuff right here and get away with anything that they want. In fact, I'm going to read it, just so we all know. Don't get it twisted about what this is all about. It says warning, too. It tells us, it says warning. Okay, what's this one? Oh, yeah. Clock of Destiny, the Clock of Destiny, Moorish American Card and Identification and Constitution has been registered in the Library of Congress and signed by the author C.M. Bay, H. Cody Ill, and A.M. Bay. William Spearman Bay and Leslie Farrell Bay are the only Moorish Americans whom has been authorized as solicitors by C.M. Bay. Since that time, it has changed. Dumas was the last one, and then Akeem took over from there. It says, beware. of forgers or imposters. The Moorish Americans, but this is the good part, the Moorish Americans, don't worry about that paper, cannot be convicted on false accusation, frame-up charges. The evidence against a Moorish American must be concrete proof beyond the shadow of a doubt. The Moorish nation of 150 million of the USA shall not be destroyed for a lack of truth and knowledge of the law and the constitutions of the Moor. You can't be destroyed for lack of knowledge and truth of this. Just because you don't know this, that don't mean it's going to be, you can be destroyed, because you can be free. So, you know, we got a lot of good information. These are the tools that we have to do work with for the things that we need. Okay? What are the things that we need? Some of the things that we need, some of the things that says this: adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. Every lawmaker and heads of industry and business enterprise of the 48 Union States are obligated members and citizens of the Magna Carta Church, Temple System of Christ, the King of the Jews, meaning jury over the wealth and culture of the living Moorish nation of North America. Therefore, by the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors, the Bays, and the Elves can demand adequate employment, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, equal rights, respect, and protection from mob violence, rape, injustices, and otherwise without being obligated to the Union, Church, and religious system of the Order of Christ, the White Idol Sun God. I'm going to end on that note, and we can build at the next session or in space. But before I leave, I want to write my email address, because the last time I gave them an email address that didn't work, for those that might have wanted to come say something, comment on the other video, but there was no way for them to connect with me. So this is my email address for you to connect with me. If you want to find out more information, you want to get more videos, how much they may cost, the books that we will be producing soon, at the present, you can email me at this address, Messiah_Bay999@yahoo.com.
Your Skype.
Oh, and my Skype account is Messiah.Bay. That's my Skype account, which we're tending to go out. We're going out that way next. So we have only once a month we talk, and then for the next 3 months we'll be, as we get the Skype up and running. And those of you who have Skype accounts, we're going to be Skyping, and we'll talk about the writings that are needed to be produced. So you got 3 weeks for those who will be participating and those who will be accepted as members of this school. Because right now I'm just generally dealing with people, but an application for membership is ready. By next week I'll have it ready. And I'll probably mail it out to those who seek a membership. But in order for them to, you have to be a member, so I'll have all the other things. So while I'm talking to you out in space, it's not just anybody, it's those who are members of the school or whoever else they sponsor. It's like the brother said, okay, I know this brother here, okay, I vouch for him. So okay, that brother can come. But if nobody can vouch for that next brother as we move along, he can't come. Say, well, who knows him? Where did he come from? Or why is he here? See what I'm saying? And the person that vouched for him, you sponsoring him? All right, then I must be, all right, I know him. He's good people. I've been with him for a while. I know that his people is good. So there's no question about that person, because he's been vouched for. So it's better this way. For one, it shows that, two, you've been familiar with the knowledge. You've been familiar with the knowledge. It's easier for us to get to teach, and we can share that experience without continuing to go over and over, because you didn't come from the foundation, like you know what's going on in the temple, you know what's happening with the clock of destiny, and you know what's happening with other different things here. At least you have that knowledge. See, if you just come straight out the street, you're really behind sometimes. That's why you have various different groups. You go there first, basically, because we teach law here, and our objective is to learn how to write, how to do legal writing for Moors. Moorish Americans Legal Defense is what we do. All right, so But I look forward to seeing you brothers again next week, and I'll say peace for now. Peace.
So,
Come on.